So my name is Leon McCowan. Where I come from is a place called Netherton. It's a little suburb in the north of Liverpool, which is nestled between Crosby and Thornton and McGull. What I do for a living is I'm a business owner, so I own a couple of companies. The first one you can see behind my head here on this side is Your Business Mobile, and we are a mobile phone contractor. Let me put my teeth back in. We're a mobile phone company that has contracts with 450 odd mobile phone small businesses across the north of England. The other business I'm involved in is this one here on the other side, which is called the Sales Dojo. And the Sales Dojo is about helping people to close more sales, hit more targets, get paid more commission, and buy those new shoes. We do that by building an online platform where we help people to get better at selling themselves and in their roles. Uh, what was it like growing up? Did you finish school? Did you go to university? So I did quite well in junior school, and I was passed a test to go to a local paid school, which was St Mary's College in Crosby, which was really cool. But it was all about how much money your mum and dad had when you went there, so it wasn't really for me. I ended up leaving after the year. I went to a school in McGull called Court. All the way through school, my plans were, well, my mum's plan for me rather was to become a bank manager. So she'd always decided I was going to go to university and then I was going to become a bank manager. In all honesty, when I was in school, I really enjoyed the people and I really enjoyed having a laugh. I was quite clever, but I wasn't very academic and I didn't really enjoy the boringness of lessons. I wasn't really into doing homework. And if I'm being completely honest, most of my exams, I just winged it. I didn't really do much revision. I managed to do okay, but I didn't do as well as I could because I didn't really apply myself in school. When I finished school, I went into sixth form, which I know you guys are probably doing compulsory these days. But back in the day, you could either go when you were 16, you could go into employment, or you could stay on. I stayed on for a couple of years and did some A levels. At the time, I did an A level in computing, which was what 25 years ago, something like that, maybe 26 years ago. So the computing that I did in school was very different than the ones that people are doing right now, and it was actually useless. My A level in English literature was really good, but I've never used Othello or Hamlet or The Merchant of Venice or any of that stuff in my life since I've left school. And the maths A level that I did as well, which was pretty much useless because I've never used Pythagoras' theorem since I've left school. So if you've learned that, well done, but it's probably not going to serve you very well in your working life. First job I ever had was actually first job I actually ever would have been a paper round. So I did a paper round when I was younger because I wanted to earn some money. So I did a paper round from where I was, a little bit out of the area, and it was in a place where Michael Lyons used to play for Everton, used to live. So I used to really enjoy the Christmas time because you make sure you made a load of noise when you're posting the Sunday papers. And these well-to-do people from the nice area of the north of Liverpool would give you a few bob as a Christmas box, which was pretty cool. My first actual job that I had was when I was 15. So a friend of the family owned a company called Hill Street Carpets, which was based on Hill Street in Southport. And I went and worked in Hill Street Carpets on a Saturday when I was 15. I found it really, really good because it got me out, gave me lots of responsibility, and it taught me lots of stuff about sales and selling, which I didn't really think I was going to be into. I always thought I was going to be a bank manager. But being able to speak to someone, find out what problems they had, find out what they were interested in, find out what kind of carpets they liked, and help them to buy something, I found really, 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 really rewarding. What I did do though was when I was coming up into sixth form, I got a job working in the factory where my dad and my uncle worked. So I spent a few years there, and it was really good money. I used to work overtime, and I earned quite a bit of money doing that job, but it was a bit of a dead end job. And one of the things that my dad used to always say to me was, you can't keep working here as long as I have, because my dad worked in there for about 25 years and he really wanted me to go out and use my A levels and all of this stuff that I'd done in school to better effect. So I actually got a job working for the water board. I was working for the water board in the office, answering the phones, and then I moved into debt collecting on the phones, and then I moved into debt collecting for the water board outside of the office. So I'd go and switch the businesses water off when they hadn't paid the bills, which wasn't as bad as it sounded because most of them would pay it when they found out that you were doing it anyway. Um, And when I was in there, I had a bit of a disagreement with one of the managers. We didn't get on very well, and we agreed at some point that we would part ways. And I went and looked for another job. And I went home and I was reading something called the Bootle Times, which you guys probably won't even understand about these kind of newspaper things that keep coming around. You probably get it all on your phone. But the Bootle Times was like a local paper where people used to put adverts in to sell paving flags and all that rubbish. And in the Bootle Times, there was an advert for the job which said, "Do you want to earn lots of money?" And I thought, brilliant. That's for me. That's exactly what I want to do. Is I want to earn lots of money. So I went for an interview phoned them up, went for an interview the next day. There was about 45 people in the room for the interview, and they give 42 of us a job. And I was like, wow, this company's really going places. It was actually only when I came back on the Monday to start the job that I realized I was going to be cold calling on the phone. It was a tough task. It taught me loads, but it was really, really useful because I've actually used that basic skill of cold calling, phoning up people and getting an appointment with them. I've used that for the last 25 years. It's a skill that I use to help a number of guys build a number of businesses in the mobile phone industry that they sold to the networks. And it's one that I use to this day to get new clients for my business, which is Your Business Mobile. That's the journey. What do? You find yourself in your job today? So that's how I found myself in the job today. When I was selling the advertising, I got a card which had the details of a new business which has started in Preston called Oracle. I phoned them up to try and get a meeting with them, try and get them to buy an advert rather. And the guy said, phone me back on Thursday. I phoned him on Thursday. He said, phone me next Tuesday. I phoned him on Tuesday. And I chased him for about 3 or 4 weeks trying to get him to buy this advert off me. And after a few weeks, when I called him, he said to me, "If you come in tomorrow, I'll buy an advert off you." And I was like, "Mate, that's not how it works because I'm selling advertising over the phone. You're going to just buy it off me over the phone." Um, and we laughed. And he said, "Look, if you come in tomorrow, I'll buy the biggest advert that you do." Now, I didn't actually own a car at the time, so I borrowed my mate's car. And the next day, I drove to Preston and I went in to see the fella, and he offered me a job. And I was at first like, listen, mate, I've come here to sell you this advert for £2,500 and I'm on 50% commission. So I'm getting 1,250 quid on Friday. I need you to buy this advert. But it was really nice. And he told me about the vision that he had for his business and where he wanted to go. And he didn't have any staff at that moment in time, but he really liked the fact that because I was diligent and I kept phoning him and I said I was doing what I was going to do, he wanted to give me an opportunity. So I was the first employee they took on. Few years later, they sold that business to one of the networks. I moved with them to a new company that they started working for. They did the same thing, built up the business over a few years, helped them with doing sales. Then I helped them with taking salespeople on. Then I was training. Then I was a sales manager. Then I was a sales director. And they sold that business again to one of the networks a few years later. And then they started again almost immediately. When I went and joined them for the last time, this was about 12 years ago. So we're in 2021. So it was about 12 years ago. So 2008, 2009, which is around when the financial crisis happened. And at that time, they hadn't changed their business model. So the business that they were working for a few years later actually ended up going bust. So in 2009, I think it was around my birthday when we went into the office and they said, we're going to be letting everybody go. I need you to tell everyone we're getting rid of them. So I was actually made redundant along with lots of other people in the business. And looking back, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my career was getting made redundant. And I often speak to people now and they'll be a bit upset and feeling a bit bad because they've lost a job. But actually what that does is it creates an opportunity for you to do something. So what I did was I purchased the assets of the company that had gone into liquidation that we were working for, and I started doing that for myself. And as I say, that was 9.5 years ago now. So I've been doing the Your Business Mobile, which is this one over this side. I've been doing that now for 9 years. It's going to be 10 years in September, actually. We've got a couple of offices, one here in Liverpool City Centre and another one which is based over in Huddersfield, which is just over the other side of Manchester. And as I say, we service about 450 businesses through that. The other business which I'm involved in is something called the Sales Dojo. Now, in the 20 years that I've been doing sales and selling, I've met, hired, fired, coached, trained, wanted to strangle about 2,000 salespeople. And one of the things that I found really interesting in all that time was when you're in sales, sometimes your support network is really, really small. You've got your boss who just wants to know when you're going to hit target, doesn't talk to you about anything other than hitting target. And if you do hit target, the first day of the next month, he forgets you've ever hit target and starts talking about your pipeline and when you're going to hit your target this month. Often in sales, the sales manager is just the best salesperson who's then given the job as sales manager. So actually, they're not very good at managing people. They're just actually good at sales. And then the last people in your support network when you're in sales are other salespeople. And quite often, they don't care if you never hit your target again. All they're interested in is hitting their own target, getting paid their own bonuses. So we started the sales dojo almost 4 years ago today. So it was the 7th or the 8th of April in 2017 that we started the sales dojo. And the idea behind that is that we give salespeople a safe place to come and get together, to learn off each other, to get a bit better. And then, as I say, help them to close more sales, hit more targets, get paid more commission, and buy those new shoes. So they're the two businesses I'm involved in now. One of them is something I've been doing for 20 years, which is great. And I've got a lot of knowledge and experience in it. So it helps me to do that really well. And the other one, which is something which I'm really passionate about, which is salespeople and selling. I firmly believe that if you get really good at sales and selling, you can get to wherever you want to get to. In the time that I've been experienced doing Your Business Mobile and previous employers in the mobile industry, I earn lots and lots of money. And that was through the fact that if you're in a sales role is the key role in any business because it's the person who brings in the revenue. Nothing happens in business until someone sells something. Okay, typical day in work for me right now is very varied. So because I'm juggling two roles in two different businesses, it probably lasts for about 12 or 13 hours throughout the day right now, to be fair. But um, a typical day for me would be usually in the morning, I would get up and go for a walk, which I enjoy doing. It really clears your head and helps you to think about what you've got on during the day. Then I would usually have some kind of online networking meeting. Now, before COVID, that would have been an in-person networking meeting. So I would go to a room where they'd have teas and coffees and breakfast or something like that, and there'd be lots of other business owners, and I just go and meet them, say hello, introduce them, find out what they do, find out who they're looking to work with, and see if there's any opportunities for us to do business between a lot of us. Usually get into the office then for about 9 a.m. At 9 o'clock, I'd probably start doing some telephone canvassing. So I make some phone calls. I'll be phoning potential clients and I'll be talking to them and saying, look, you've got a mobile phone contract. When's it due? If it's due around now, is there any chance I can come in and have a chat to you about maybe us taking over the management of that contract? Um, Obviously, lunch is really important. So I'd go and have some nice lunch. And then usually in the afternoon, it would be a couple of client meetings. So the meetings I've been trying to set up in the morning, they would be the ones I would go and see in the afternoon. So that would involve driving anywhere from Chester up to Carlisle, over to York or down to Sheffield, and usually seeing a couple of clients that afternoon, having a conversation with them about what they're using right now, asking them some really good questions so that you can find out what problems they have with their existing supplier, and then presenting them with a solution which is going to solve their problems and mean that they want to place the business with us. And then typically the journey home would include listening to some podcast or something about sales and selling. And then of an evening right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing some sales dojo work. So we're doing work on social media like Clubhouse, and we're using um, LinkedIn and other social media. So we're trying to push the sales dojo message out there as well. So it's quite a long day right now, but it's really interesting. It's really varied, and you get to meet people. Typical day in work. What's the difference that your job makes? So the difference that the job makes for the Your Business Mobile side of it is what we will do is we'll go in and see a business owner and find out what they're doing in their business, and we'll help them with some apps or some nifty bit of technology which will allow them to run their business a bit better using mobile phones. So the difference that we often make is really good, because then we'll help a business owner who's been running his business for many years spend more time on the beach or in with his grandkids than he has to in the business, because the business runs smoother because they're using mobile technology. In terms of the sales dojo, the difference that that makes is the sales dojo helps people to sell more. So the kind of the reason why I'm addicted to that element of helping people in terms of the business is the best times I've had in all of my career is when I've been working with someone and we've been doing some coaching and some training. And after 6 or 8 months, we sit down and we have a review, and they say, just want to say, thanks very much. All the work we've been doing, I've managed to get enough money together for my bonuses and I've just bought a new car. Or I've just got enough money together to put a deposit down for a house. Or I said what you said. He said yeah, so I bought myself a new pair of shoes. They are by far the best times that I've had in my career, and they are the differences that the two businesses would make. What's challenging about your work? So your business mobile, a challenging thing is that it's a sales role. And one of the things with sales is that about 98 out of the 100 people that you speak to are going to say no. And some days that's a bit painful. Most days you get your head around it. Most days you don't get affected by it. But on some days, when the 30th, 40th, 50th person says no and puts the phone down, sometimes that can be really tough. The other challenging thing is because you have a sales target and it's a target that you set yourself up, you've got lots of responsibility in that role to make things happen. So, all the people who work in your business mobile, if I don't get out there and sell some stuff this month, maybe we can't pay their mortgages. So that's definitely the other challenge of being a business owner. Fun thing about your job. So the other thing with your business model is I get to meet lots of people, and that's really cool. And the thing with sales is what you don't want to do is try and sell to everyone. You don't want everyone to buy your product or service because that's not how it works. But what you want to do is you want to be good, really good at helping. So I said before, I do the networking in the morning. So I meet lots of other business owners and I find out what they do and who they help. So if I go and see someone in a meeting, a sales meeting for your business mobile, I'll ask them about questions and challenges and problems they've got. I can match that person's problem with someone I know in my network to help them to fix their problem. So if it's not me that gets the sale, at least someone gets a sale in my network, and at least that business owner then gets their problems fixed. And then with the sales dojo stuff, the fun thing is just helping people to earn more money. It's amazing. It's a gift which I'm blessed with. It's just something that is amazing. So we've all been there when we haven't got any money. We've all been there when we can't afford to do something. Being able to give someone the opportunity to go and get them nice shoes, buy that nice bike that they've always wanted, take the friends out for something nice to eat, take the missus or the boyfriend out on a nice date, pay for a holiday. Being able to do that, there's no better feeling than that warm fuzzy feeling you get inside from helping somebody. um, what you love about your work, I think I've just pretty much covered that, haven't I? And that was talking about what you love doing, the fun bit. The fun is the love. So if you can get into a business where you enjoy it, you never ever work a day in your life. And it's a common thing that you'll hear people say a lot. But if you can get into a role that you really love, then you can actually really enjoy it. So some people I speak to and they'll say, "Oh God, I've got to go to work on Monday. I can't wait to get up. I can't sleep. I wake up well before my alarm most mornings because I'm really excited to go and do the things that I get to do. And I have spent a number of years going around a few things to get to that position. So if there's anything that you take from this, it's go and try some stuff. You never quite know what you're going to enjoy. There's lots of opportunities. Go and have a go at some stuff and see what will work for you. What advice would you give to any young person wanting to get into your line of work? So, my line of work technically is sales. Although I'm a business owner for your business mobile, I've been the sales element of all of them businesses over the years, and I still remain that. And the sales dojo stuff is completely sales. So the advice that I would give anyone about, but not just sales, but about any industry, is treat it as a profession. So if you're going to do something, give it everything that you've got. Don't just go half-assed on it. Don't say, I'll just pick it up. Don't work 9 to 5. Now, I'm not saying you've got to work 12, 13, 14 hours a day. But what I'm saying is when you're not in work, are you thinking about how you can get better at it? You've got access now to LinkedIn. You've got access to Masterclass. You've got access to loads and loads of different sites which can help you get better. There's podcasts everywhere which you can listen to. If you're going to do anything, give it everything you've got and you'll see unbelievable results from the end of it. And I think the other thing I would say definitely is I didn't actually plan to do any of this stuff. So if you are sitting there and you're listening, you think, oh God, and you've been to a careers advisor who said you've got to have this big plan for your life, you haven't. You just have to have a few ideas and you've got to have a little bit about you to have a go at some stuff and see what works. And like I said, if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn and I'm in Cotton Exchange in Liverpool City Centre. So drop me a line, we'll have a coffee and I'll see if I can introduce you to.